The election of Sarah McBride as the first openly transgender person to serve in the United States Congress, representing Delaware's at-large congressional district, has sparked a lot of debates and controversy on Capitol Hill, primarily by this representative of South Carolina right here, Nancy Mace, who's on the left side of the screen, right side of the screen right now. A little bit about McBride. Born and raised in Wilmington, Delaware, had been a dedicated advocate of the LGBTQ rights from a young age. Her activism gained national attention during her tenure as a student body president at American University, where she came out as transgender in 2012. Um, Went on to be a part of the Delaware State Senate, and then this year was elected to Congress. So she has faced a lot of opposition from some colleagues or future colleagues, notably Republican Representative Nancy Mace, who introduced a resolution aimed at restricting McBride's access to women's restrooms in the Capitol, citing concerns over, quote, women's security. Um, and Mace had gone on like a huge like social media uh, thing on this, like tweeting multiple times about this, going on multiple different shows, giving statements to the press, talking about how this is not going to stand, she's not going to let this fly, pretty much attacking her. I have this clip here. Let's take a listen and kind of we'll come back with some other.
Anywhere across the country.
Yeah, but are you going after a marginalized person here?
Sarah McBride doesn't get a say in this. This is a biological man trying to force himself into women's spaces, and I'm not going to tolerate it. You have the radical left that are trying to erase women and erase women's rights. I'm the first woman to graduate from the Citadel, the Military College of South Carolina. If some guy in a skirt came by and said, no, that's my achievement, I'm going to be there and standing in the way and saying, hell no. I'm not going to allow men to erase women or women's rights. And I'm going to be standing up here. I will file this again next congressional session. Sarah McBride doesn't get a say. This is about women. This is about girls. This is about our rights and being protected in our private spaces. I don't want to see a man in a women's restroom. That's not a thing. And it's not going to be a thing up here. It's not going to be a thing anywhere across the country either. Thank you so much.
So, in response to that, Speaker of the House Mike Johnson said, he's siding with Representative Mace on the House rules. And so Congresswoman-elect Sarah McBride released a statement on X saying, quote, I'm not here to fight about bathrooms. I'm here to fight for Delawareans and to bring down costs facing families. Like all members, I will follow the rules as outlined by Speaker Johnson, even if I disagree with them. This effort to distract from the real issues facing this country hasn't distracted me over the last several days, as I've remained hard at work preparing to represent the greatest state in the Union come January. Serving in the 119th Congress will be the honor of a lifetime, and I continue to look forward to getting to know my future colleagues on both sides of the aisle. Each of us were sent here because voters saw something in us that they value. I have loved getting to see those qualities in the future colleagues that I have met, and I look forward to seeing those qualities in every member come January. I hope all of my colleagues will seek to do the same with me. Delaware Congresswoman-elect Sarah McBride. Meghan McCain quote tweeted this, saying class act.
Good for her.
And then she got destroyed in the comments.
I don't like Meghan McCain, but yeah.
But I mean, she shared this saying, I guess it's a good way to handle the situation.
There's many instances in which I can agree with Meghan McCain, but then there's many that not. But no, this is a great response for Congresswoman McBride. It's a distraction. That's what it's going to be. I mean, I know it's not sexy, but coming up in this legislative session here, we're kind of expecting, quote unquote, men and girls sports to kind of be a big deal. We're kind of hoping we're wrong. I mean, people are hoping they're wrong. They're just kind of holding their breath right now, wanting to see if Republicans will kind of just take a breather this session. They got some big wins. They got a big win with that abortion ban. So maybe they'll just kind of just try to fly under the radar, but we do anticipate.
They could probably try to go for a lower one. I don't think. I think they're going to focus. Are you talking about the legislature here in Nebraska?
Yeah, here in Nebraska.
I'm sure they'll focus on the boring stuff, and then right at the end, LB 575.
Well, I mean, yeah, but there's a period pretty early on where they have to stop introducing bills. So we'll know fairly early if there's going to be some kind of cultural battle they'll pick, and if they do, it's likely going to be, you know, transgender girls in high school sports or high school girls sports. But it's just like what a distraction it is. I've tried talking to senators. Hey, listen, our mom and pop family farm operations, um, like they have to compete against corporate farming operations, and it's an unlevel playing field. It's not it's not any way fair, and we need to be able to do something for these farmers so that they can actually have a shot against surviving this corporate onslaught. But of course, what might take up a lot of time next session is making sure that trans athletes stay out of women's sports. But I mean, people have looked, and out in Nebraska, an organization that tries to follow the statistics has said that we can't even find 5 trans athletes. I mean, we could only find 2 in the entire state, but we're pretty confident to say there's no more than 5. So it's just like, yeah, okay, we're going to keep 2 or 3 trans athletes from playing high school sports, aligned with their gender identity. But we still have child poverty. We still have senior poverty. We have farmers. The suicide rate is like through the roof. Bankruptcies through the roof. And it's just like, we're going to seriously waste some time on something that is objectively such a small thing. And that's what this is here. Like Nancy Mace is just trying to keep the culture war going, you know?
Yeah, and then in a Newsmax interview, she said, "quote It is offensive that a man in a skirt could ever think um, he's my equal," is what she said. This is verbatim. That his challenges are the same as mine. They're not.
Mm.
He's forcing his genitals into women's restrooms, into dressing rooms, into locker rooms. It's sick. So the congresswoman elect has gotten a lot of support from prominent Democrats such as AOC, Alexandria Ocasio Cortez, saying, "quote The idea," in a statement that she gave to the press. Like when they're like hounding members, like as they're leaving, outside, things like
Yeah.
that. She said, "quote The idea Nancy Mace wants little girls and women to drop trout in front of who? An investigator. It's gross." Pretty much saying, like, what are you
Yeah.
going to do? Check these things. But
Yeah.
yeah, Speaker Mike Johnson said that she will be treated as a man under House rules.
Okay.
So
Well, I
yeah,
imagine a lot of. Go ahead.
go ahead. Yeah, you go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, this is
I'm
this
gonna
is
pull
this
my
is
notes.
funny talking about equals between men and women and stuff when she comes from the party where people predominantly want to take the right of women's suffrage away. I see so many online conservative content creators, influencers talking about how women shouldn't vote. So it's like, all right, but also like there are going to be so many Republican congressmen who are going to be so uncomfortable using the restroom, and they're going to say, "Well, she shouldn't be here," even though she shouldn't be in the other bathroom either. It just doesn't make any sense. There's, I mean, what they want to say is she shouldn't be here. Period. It's not unlike every other kind of moral panic in the past. It almost looks exactly the same. Um, but yeah, I mean, Nancy Mace is just trying to continue the culture battle, the cultural war battle, and unfortunately, like you saw the they them commercial that played heavily at the last 2 weeks of the
Kamala
election.
Harris is for yeah. Kamala
They
Harris is for they them. Yeah.
Now
I,
the unfortunate thing, like it's of course that's such a misleading and it's a horrible it's a horrible message. But unfortunately, it was like a near perfect political ad, and they proved as much. I mean, they even have people analyzed some results, and some organization came out and said that it moved people as much as 2.5% votes.
mm,
And this was an ad that was played across all the swing states, NFL games, thousands and thousands of times. And I think at the end, it's going to tell the conservatives they've been vindicated when it comes to waging this cultural battle, and it's just going to continue into the future. And especially when they don't get the great America that they've been told that they're going to get. I mean, it's just going to be really difficult considering how many people gave Trump money to be elected. So
yeah.
I hope I'm wrong, but I don't think that he's going to deliver. It would be great if he could, make America great again, of course. But if it doesn't happen, what do? Well, you try to distract with the cultural war battles. You know what I'm saying? And he's going to keep on vilifying, immigrant people, trans people, anybody who's different, that sort of thing, just to make up for your own shortcomings. And I think that's far more likely. So, I mean, just you got to prepare for an escalation in the cultural wars, I suppose. But hopefully, if
Yeah,
you're informed, go ahead.
I do want to just touch on Nancy Mace saying that this is all in an effort to protect women and things like that. Nancy Mace voted against the reauthorization of the Violence Against Women Act in 2021. Some of the things that she outlined for not supporting the reauthorization was concerned about transgender protections that were within that. She expressed concerns about transgender individuals accessing women's shelters and services, citing potential safety and privacy issues for cisgender women. However, she also opposed the bill because it sought to close what they call the boyfriend loophole, preventing individuals convicted of domestic violence during against dating partners from purchasing firearms. And Mace and other critics viewed this provision as an infringement upon Second Amendment rights. Unserious. So, do you care about protecting women or not? Because if someone is the victim of domestic abuse, you're going to allow that abuser to go and be able to purchase a deadly weapon.
Hmm.
Do you know what I mean? So it's kind of just like
And they call that the boyfriend loophole.
they call it the boyfriend loophole. So she
Yeah.
voted against it in 2021, the whole thing. But that's weird.
Hmm.
You, you say you want to protect women and all of these things, but then it's like, one of the reasons why I'm going to vote against this bill to protect women, the violence against women, uh, is because I don't want this to prevent, other men from getting guns.
Hmm. Yeah, I think the
Unserious.
boyfriend loophole was a new one when it came to the reauthorization. I don't think that was in there beforehand.
No, it wasn't. That was one of the reasons why she said she voted against it, because she felt that that was infringing on Second Amendment rights.
Hmm. Women only shelters. Okay, I see now. Yeah, I mean, I think if I'm going to be a little pessimistic, I think that the Violence Against Women Act. I think that was a Biden bill, if I'm not mistaken.
Mhm.
Um, and I think that's probably one of those things has to do with it. Like you don't want to let a Biden achievement live on and stuff. And then also, there's the culture war aspect of it. Um, I mean, it just people have just learned that you can make it if you're willing to talk about these issues that get everybody mad and emotional thinking instead of thinking calmly and logically. So I mean, people can definitely make it. I mean, there's so many conservative influencers out there who are just basically grifters, and then all they're trying to do is make people riled up and mad at each other so that they can kind of just exploit that. And Nancy Mace has got that written all over her. She's just trying to be a brand.
And this
So,
makes me so mad because for everyone watching, this is why it's important to follow members of Congress and the way they vote on things. Every now that the internet, is accessible and things can go instantly viral, get this. I think it was the infrastructure bill or something like that, or a part of the American Rescue Act. I forget which one, but I forget which state, but it was a GOP House member that voted against this bill that their city or state benefited, like got so much money from to like help with their infrastructure and things. And she does this like victory lap on Twitter, known at the time as Twitter, saying, "Oh, we secured X amount for this and this and this, and we're cleaning up infrastructure." Pretty much doing a victory lap on what this would mean for her state. Everybody started posting the screenshots of the voting record saying, "You voted against this." So they run and do victory laps when there's legislation passed that benefits their states that they voted against. But in the moment,
mhm.
it's doesn't want to give it a bit win. Take the win where you can, right? Be like, you know what? I can work with the other side. I can get through bipartisanship things for the betterment of the American people, versus, like you said, doing these culture war things, using this inflammatory rhetoric, going on these social media circuits and doing all of this stuff, and then trying to do a victory lap at the end when the legislation that was going to benefit your constituents gets pushed through without your help. Crazy.
I mean,
Unserious.
it's a spectacle. I mean, what does every presidential race look like? Super Bowl. It's like I have friends from Canada, England, Germany. They look at the coverage that our presidential races get, and they're just like, why? Like, why is it like this? Why it looks like a circus, a spectacle, something that people put on, but it's just like it's one of those things. Like notoriety gets you there in
Yeah,
America.
you would think that the race to become the leader of the free world would be much more demure.
Hmm. I mean, it's but like, people are always they say they're dying for a very boring civil servant to be their politician. But I mean, for various reasons, we're always kind of roped into this like two personality battles that you got to choose from, and they're like completely different apart. It's never like where's the boring people? Can't do that anymore because um, the way our election system is like set up, if you want to win a primary, you got to be the most conservative. It's a Republican primary. You got to be out there and that sort of thing. And eventually, the two people that make it in the general election typically are just like not even close to being moderates on most issues. So I mean, these days we just see that there's tons of Republican primaries out there where far right Republicans are coming in and beating incumbents, and then everybody's seeing like, oh, you got to be loud, you got to wage the cultural war, you got to get everybody riled up. That's the way to do it, and that's where the incentives are in the election system. When it comes to campaign finance, this is just where the incentives are. This
Yeah.
has got to stop being a winning act. We got to push for reforms to make this stop being a winning thing. So until then, I mean, you're just going to get more of this.
Drama. Spectacle.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.